Welcome to the Christmas special of 2023.
Our ninth Christmas special.
Wow, the Filmmaker Film Watcher podcast. I'm filmmaker Richard Di Gregorio.
And I am film watcher Greg Ralph.
Christmas 2023. Can you
Ho,
possibly believe it?
I
can't
know.
believe it. Ho, ho, ho.
Next year, a decade of Christmases. It's like, it's Christmas every day.
That's amazing. Well, it's great to be here on another Christmas.
You keep saying Christmas like it means something.
Well, it does mean something to me. It brings so much joy. There's the great sense of in the air. I mean, there's stress in the air from people not buying presents. But I just love the feeling of Christmas. I love the spirit of Christmas.
And it's so much better than last year. Remember last year, Mon Oncle Antoine? That really cheery, not Canadian film of, I think it was 1971 maybe?
Well, we didn't really feel the Christmas
There
cheer.
was no
There was
Christmas cheer in that film. Come on, let's get real.
But what we really want to get from this, whether we like it or hate or dislike the movies, what we really want to get a sense is whether they invoke the Christmas spirit, whether we feel that feel of Christmas.
Yes.
At the end of this episode.
But before we get into the films,
okay,
you know that Christmas is when I like to bring along a little Christmassy kind of thematic interweaving.
Yeah,
and I was speaking on the weekend to one of our many, many, many fans.
Yes.
Hello, Sienna. We've got more than one fan, I know that. But anyway, I was talking to Sienna, and she said, tell me, what are you going to do this year? And then she said, no, don't tell me. I want to be surprised when I listen. So, Sienna, this is partly for you.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I never know what you're going to do. I look forward to this every time.
As does Sienna, and maybe one other person out there, apart from myself. And so in the past, we've done dud crackers, working crackers. What else have we done?
There was one which scared me. Like, it literally made a hugely loud bang.
Can't remember that one.
Don't remember that?
I'm prepared. I'll have to go listen to our back catalogue. And for the last 2 years, you might remember that I brought along things. I had a little Christmas spell one year, like in It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes.
And another year, recently, I had a little Santa go ho, ho, ho.
Yes, you did.
And I would ring the bell, I think it was last year, if I felt we needed more Christmas spirit.
That's right.
And Santa would go ho, ho, ho if I thought you were saying something particularly good or meaningful or insightful, or you just plain old agreed with me.
Okay.
So I thought I'd build on these this year.
Oh, we'll build on it.
And this year,
what have we got?
Bought
Here we go.
the Christmas present.
What? What is this?
Wrapped in tissue paper and cellophane. It was the loudest paper I could find. And the idea is that every time you say something, I think that deserves the merit, or that's very insightful, or look, he realises how right I am.
No, please.
You get to take off one layer.
Oh, wow.
Of the present, not yourself.
But hang on a minute, I might not unwrap it.
Well, there are 6 layers, which means you only have to get to 2 insightful things per film. And I'm doubly prepared because I just don't know how well that's going to sound on the thing. So I've also got a little bag of Christmas bells in cellophane. So when you're unwrapping, I'll use that. I might just open the bells a bit so we can hear them a bit more.
Oh, we just heard them.
Don't worry about it. Oh, okay. So the idea is that I can do... There we go. I can do that in case you're not making enough noise. But you get 6 goes, and if you get it done on the podcast, you get to open your present. And if you don't, you never get to see what's inside it.
That's right.
Okay?
I never,
ever.
No, you're going to hide it away. It's not going to be there.
You earn it or lose it, baby.
Okay. So
we're going to talk about some films, aren't we?
We are going to talk about some films. I'm so sorry. But it is Christmas.
You wouldn't think I'm just drinking water, would you?
No, that's right. So the first film we are going to discuss is...
This year's, 2023's.
Yeah, a 2023 release. This is very new for us.
I know.
A film called Something in the Barn.
There's Something in the Barn.
There's Something in the Barn.
Yeah, and this is the first time we've done a 2023 film because we couldn't have done it last year, could we? So that's actually a Norwegian-American co-production. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to jump back in time to 1992 to do Tim Burton's Batman Returns, which is set at Christmas. We'll see if it's a Christmas film or not.
Well, there's a lot of talk about this.
A bit like Die Hard.
There's talk about whether this is a Christmas film
and
or
I have an
not.
answer. And if you agree...
So do I.
And if you agree, you can undo a level of the parcel.
I will talk about it. But yeah, so that's interesting. But then the third film we're going to discuss is the 2022 film.
Last year.
Amazing. Spirited.
Which was made for Apple TV. So it's a film that some people can't get hold of, in which case we apologise. But we thought it was a good one to bring in for the Christmas spirit.
Yes.
That's why it's called Spirited.
That's right. So without further ado, on this lovely Christmas episode...
Yep.
Tell us about There's Something in the Barn.
I shall. As a Christmas treat, Ricardo and I went together to see this year's American-Norwegian holiday comedic horror film. And no, I'm not making that up. And a spoiler alert, I have to say that I enjoyed our cinematic experience together more than the film itself. There's Something in the Barn tells the story of an American family who inherit a house and the titular barn in a rural Norwegian town, arriving just in time for the Christmas season. The Nordheim family is made up of slightly nerdy dad, Martin Starr, caring stepmom, Amrita Acharya, young adolescent son, Towns Bunner, and this place is so boring and I want to be back home with all my friends' teen daughter, Zoe Winter Hansen. In the Spielbergian tradition, young Lucas is the only one paying attention to mysterious movements in the barn. He alone hears local myths about the Nissa, barn elves, who look like Christmassy garden gnomes and turn murderously feral if you don't respect their rules. 1. Don't make changes to the barn. 2. No bright lights or loud noises. And 3. Never forget to put out a bowl of porridge for them on Christmas Eve. Sure enough, slightly nerdy dad violates all the rules as he puts up over-the-top bright and loud Christmas decorations while planning the barn's conversion for Airbnb guests. But it's dad's late-night eating of the porridge that proves too much for their resident Nissa, who goes on the attack and eventually calls in the troops to take down the humans. Basically, this film is a cross between Gremlins, which we reviewed in our Christmas 2017 episode, and Rare Exports, Christmas 2018, with some American-Norwegian cross-cultural humour thrown in for good measure. And the trailer to this looked fun, but it wasn't. Nor was it scary, and I say this as a horror wuss. But then it's kind of hard to be scary when your audience can see what's coming a mile off. This film could have been more gleefully subversive, a deeper story about American culture clash, glimpsed, for example, when the US flag is used to spear 2 of the Nordic elves. But this theme is typically reduced to locals' glib and repeated responses about gun-toting Americans. And yet, in the end, the moral of the story seems to be that you're actually better off with a gun in the American style, unlike the exclusively Norwegian death toll. As a family, the Nordheims just didn't ring true for me. More could have been done with the story of the family's dead mother, but no one seems really grief-stricken by her death, despite Dad's claim that he'd never let his kids go through something like that again. In fact, Martin Starr as the dad was particularly unconvincing. Apparently he's a main character in the Silicon Valley TV comedy, so I was a bit surprised at his performance. But perhaps it's not the fault of the actors. The writing, direction, continuity and musical choices all feel half-hearted throughout. The increasingly predictable story suffers from such plot holes as, where do all the barn elves come from if the locals don't believe in the Nissa and so wouldn't be putting out their Christmas porridge? Why would creatures so averse to bright artificial light and loud noises want to drive a snow ski or use a gun? What happened to the pursuing elves when their targets narrowly sledded around a moose? And how does someone shot in the shoulder then enthusiastically hug everyone, and just what happened to the damage caused by the bullet? I was also bothered by the changing patterns of dried blood on a character's face in the latter part of the story. While the Christmassy landscapes provide beautiful scenery, apparently achieved by importing megatons of snow, the sled chase sequence was obviously unreal. The one bright spot for me, other than having the entire children's cinema to ourselves, Ricardo, was the dry performance of Henrietta Steenstrup as the local sheriff. I suggest, though, that There's Something in the Barn could be livened up by a drinking game. Similar to your suggestion, Ricardo, last year, when you suggested you drink every time a character said Mr. Matashek in 1940's The Little Shop Around the Corner. Except this time, you drink every time you see a beanie with Norway emblazoned across it. Now, Ricardo, I know you were itching to discuss this film as soon as the credits rolled. Here's your chance.
Oh, look, I didn't hate it, okay? It's just so predictable, you know, and that's what I didn't like about it. It was Gremlins. It was trying to be lots of other films without being its own.
National Lampoon's Christmas
Yes,
Vacation,
it was-
Home Alone.
Yeah, so it was really
Krampus.
obvious. It looked wonderful. I think it looked great. The scenery was great.
Yep.
The production values were great.
Except for things like continuity and, as I say, the sled chase scene.
Okay.
There was obviously a green screen
Yeah,
or something.
but it still had budget to it.
It had
okay?
budget,
It
yeah.
did,
That's
right?
not
So it
necessarily
wasn't-
the same thing, but okay.
No, I know, but quite honestly, I quite like this use of practical effects in it, like the all of the gnomes and whatnot. They look all very
Yeah, they're not CGI. They're
not
actors.
Yeah, that's right. So I quite liked that aspect of it, because Gremlins was very much like that. They were all using puppets
Puppets,
and whatnot. So I like that. But geez, it's a bit boring. And you're right. It's not scary in the slightest. Not even a jump scare.
No.
Like it really, you've got to get that part right. Gremlins is quite spooky. When I was younger, it's quite spooky. This is not at all. And I just didn't believe the gnomes.
Well, you were 7 when Gremlins came out, weren't you?
Oh, what year did that come out?
84, I think.
Yeah, I was about 7. That's right.
Yeah, whereas I was 22, so I'm really sorry. It's probably the only time I say it's been a horror film. You were scared, I wasn't.
Yeah. But one thing it did do, though, it did make me feel that Christmas was coming.
Okay.
Right? So I think in terms of what we want these films to do and is bring a little bit of Christmas spirit, I felt a bit of the Christmas spirit in it. So I think it's a good Christmas film because...
With low expectations.
Low expectations, and I think you will enjoy it. I think this might be enjoyable to people who just like, oh, let's watch a silly Christmas movie thriller. Let's watch There's Something in the Barn. Because it does have enjoyable
put our
moments.
Norway beanies on.
It's not great, but it's still okay.
I was just so disappointed because it could like the trailer, the film that the
trailer's
promised,
much better than the film. Yes, that's right.
The film it promised would have been a really entertaining film, and it could have been funnier. It could have really played a lot more with the Norwegian-American clash.
I agree.
And so I'm not going to give it a very good rating in case you haven't worked that out.
Yeah.
Because maybe I should rate it a bit higher, its own merits, but it just could have been a much better film.
But look, I'll rate it to when it ended, how I felt, and it's not a very long film, but it felt long to me.
Yeah.
It felt like it just kept going on and on and on, and for something that's I think it was only like an hour and 40 minutes. That it should not feel long, but it just felt drawn out and, like I said, just a little bit boring.
So you're giving it
4 out of 10.
I'm giving it 3.
Wow, there we go.
And the note I wrote to myself was, it wasn't scary. It had the potential to be more fun, more inventive, or more subversive, or even, dare I say it, more horrific, but it just never got out of the gates, really.
No, the thing is, if you're going to make a film like this, you've got to get some elements right. Like even the comedy wasn't that funny.
No.
But the scary moments weren't scary.
No.
So if it was a bit funnier, I would have forgiven that it wasn't as scary. But but the comedy wasn't really that funny. They've got to make the scares a little bit.
It needed a good collaborative director, like a Spielberg or someone like that, to really lift it and sit down with the script writers and say, what are we really trying to do here? Okay, why don't we try this? It just felt like it was stuck in the starting gates.
Yeah, I
me.
agree.
So there's not much in the barn after all. Now, before we get on to our second film, Ricardo, I've just realised you have unwrapped none of the presents so far.
Oh.
You're not going well.
Well, I thought I said something quite insightful in that.
Because you basically agreed with me, belatedly, you may open the first layer of the parcel.
Oh, really? Because I agreed.
Yeah, I said that.
You did.
Because you agreed with me. You're basically getting it right. So, know.
Okay, I'll unwrap it
Hold
first.
it up to the microphone.
Right? Yeah, okay.
Oh, there we go. Oh, you don't need my special sound effects.
No, that's okay. I'm just tearing the first layer off.
Ooh. It's almost as good as a cracker.
You wrapped this quite well.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was thinking of our audience.
Okay. Well,
but there's still 5 layers left.
There is. I'm just shaking it up. I don't know what it is.
So we've got 5 layers left for 2 films.
Right.
You might have to say to me, did I get it now? Because I completely forgot. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to bring you in now.
Okay, bring me in.
So, Ricardo, hey, why don't you tell us about Batman Returns, the ultimate Christmas movie or not?
Okay. Released in 1992, Batman Returns is the sequel to Tim Burton's 1989 film, Batman, and is considered one of the sort of darkest and most visually stunning sort of Batman films in the superhero genre. On release, I saw this twice at the cinema, and I loved it. The film delves deeper into the psychological complexities of Batman and Bruce Wayne, played by Michael Keaton, and introducing iconic villains like the Penguin, Danny DeVito, and Catwoman, Michelle Pfeiffer. The story unfolds during the Christmas season in Gotham City, a place rife with corruption and despair. The deformed Penguin, abandoned as a baby by his wealthy parents, emerges from the sewers to seek revenge on the city that rejected him. He forms an alliance with the ruthless businessman Max Schreck, Christopher Walken, who desires to become mayor and exploit Gotham for his own gain. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne struggles to balance his dual identities as a wealthy socialite and the vigilante Batman. He grapples with these inner demons and the emotional scars of his parents' murder. His life becomes further complicated by the arrival of Selina Kyle, a timid secretary at Shrek's company who transforms into the alluring and vengeful Catwoman after being pushed out of a window. As Batman investigates Penguin and Shrek's sinister plans, he finds himself caught in a web of deceit and violence. Now, the film was praised for its gothic aesthetic, which perfectly captured Burton's dark vision. Danny Elfman's haunting score and Danny DeVito's over-the-top performance as the Penguin were highlights, and I really loved. I was a different Penguin to, let's say, the 1960s, Batman and Robin TV show. The cinematography by Stefan Chapsky was lauded for its expressive use of light and shadow, creating a visually stunning and very atmospheric film. That's one thing that really got me when I watched it, saw it twice at the cinema in 1992. It's the cinematography. It's the production design. It's the sets. Stefan also worked on Burton's Edward Scissorhands, which was also beautifully shot. But it's a visual feast. Like I said, there's expressionistic sets, there's exaggerated costumes, dramatic lighting. They're just used to create a sense of unease and suspense. Now, while these things are still great, and while I think for its time it was just fantastic, I actually think the film has dated quite a lot now.
And I said the same thing, so you may take a wrapper off the gift.
Oh, really?
Go for it. We'll just pause a little
Okay,
intro.
sorry. Okay, well, that's a good thing.
Up near the microphone, please.
There you go.
Because I think exactly the same thing.
Yeah, okay. Okay, there we go. We're into the...
4 to go.
Yes,
2 down, 4 to
right.
go. You were saying dated.
Yes, I think it's dated quite a lot. Batman's gadgets, CDs.
That was cool back in the day.
Yeah, are just old, and the film itself it just takes a little while to get going now, so it just feels just a little tad boring. Over the last 15 years, our lives have been almost taken over by superhero films, which has raised the bar in that genre. But in saying that, these Burton Batman films redefined the superhero films back then and deserve that respect. They really do. They were huge.
I would argue the Batman films and the first Christopher Reeves too.
Superman's as well.
Yeah, Superman, yeah.
Now, there is that murmuring through the web that's trying to make this film a Christmas films like Die Hard. But my verdict is that even though this film is set at Christmas, it's not a Christmas film. Die Hard had so many more Christmas references than this film. So no, I didn't get the Christmas spirit at all. Whereas in Die Hard, there's lots of ho-ho-hos, there's lots of American, and it even ends on, and the weather outside is frightful.
Yes, I don't think there was a single Christmas song in this one.
No, there's not. It's set at Christmas, but nobody cares. Greg, what are your thoughts on Batman?
You can go straight to another layer because I
really.
I agree.
I'm like, he really wants me to.
I agree. No, well, that's true too. But I really agree. I don't think it is a Christmas film. We'll come back to that. But first,
really?
do layer
that's
3.
Quick.
Yeah, no, you did well.
That's quick.
I'm very proud of you, son.
That's really quick. That's really quick. Okay, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. Okay, we're halfway there.
We are.
All right.
There we go.
So let me tell you.
Hang on. No, still don't know what it is.
Okay, cool. I probably shouldn't admit this publicly, and this is the only film I think I can say this of. When I went to see it at the movies, I was drunk. It had just come out of the movies.
And you loved it.
No, I was bewildered by it.
Bewildered.
I was out with a friend of mine.
I was bewildered.
And we got a bit drunk.
I was bewildered.
And she, you do better than I do. And she said, "Oh, come on, let's go and see the new Batman film."
Yeah.
And so I said, "Oh, no," I got talked into it. And not only did I go to see it drunk, it was just released. And so there were 2 seats left, and we were sitting rows and columns apart from each other. So I'm in the middle of this crowd of, really excited Batman fans, Tim Burton fans, and I'm drunk, and I'm thinking, what's going on? And I remember clearly the scene when Selena Kyle, Michelle Pfeiffer, falls down out of the building, is pushed and goes through layers of awnings, and thinking, I think I'm just starting to sober up. But before that, we had the whole backstory at Penguin and Christmas, and all that weirdness about his parents and throwing him into a river, his pram, and it just not making any sense at all. And I'm not sure which version I prefer. Look, let's start with, is it a Christmas film? No, it's not. It actually tries to be. I mean, it certainly is set at Christmas time. There's, present shopping and there's snow and so on. And it gives them something to play with visually.
Of course.
Some of the motifs.
It's beautifully because of the snow.
And maybe against sort of the grit of Gotham.
Yes.
And maybe at the same time, that's what Burton is doing, that he's setting up contrasts, and Christmas lets him do that.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, quite a few of his films do use Christmas. I think Scissorhands does.
Yeah. Snow themes and that.
And of course, a couple of Christmases ago, we did The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yes.
So I didn't think about Christmas. I've read commentary and I agree with it. In fact, the film starts with a nativity story, a nativity story that goes really, really wrong. But it starts with the birth of the Penguin character and his parents, and in fact, the medical staff's abhorrent reactions to this horribly disfigured child. And you've got 2 Tim Burton Pee Wee Herman stalwarts playing the parents. So you've got Paul Rubens and Diane Salinger. And then there's this beautiful snowy landscape as they tip the child in the river, which is a complete antithesis of the nativity story. And what was really interesting was that the next thing you see after all the title sequence where the pram's going floating down the river and ends up in the penguin lair at the abandoned zoo, is it then says 33 years later. And that's a really interesting choice, because 33 is the age at which Jesus had gone into his mission after his birth. So I thought, is there something else going on here? But it never really quite takes off.
Yeah.
And the whole trouble starts where this oversized present lumbers into the crowd space when they're about to light up the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And then all these, horrible clowns, which you can argue are kind of Christmassy, burst out and start doing horrible things and so on. And it tries again at the end, because the last lines of the film, Alfred's driving Bruce Wayne back to Wayne Manor, and he says, "Merry Christmas, Mr. Wayne." And Mr. Wayne says, "Merry Christmas, Alfred. Goodwill toward men and women." And so it's kind of bookended with Christmassy stuff, and it's there all the way through, but it's not a Christmas film.
No, it's not.
I think you're right. I think Die Hard is an unusual Christmas film, but it is. This is just playing around the edges of it. Exactly.
It does. Yeah.
It was really interesting to see how there were visual motifs that were very much echoing Beetlejuice, which was 3 years earlier. So some of the baddies reminded me, for example, of the weird minister creature who tries to marry Winona Ryder and Michael Keaton's characters.
Yeah,
you could see it was the same creative intelligence behind it all.
Yeah, it wasn't that long after. No.
But this one, I think compared to his other films, I got quite tired of all the blowing up of things, the blowing up of the model sets, which would have looked much more, you're right, much more impressive back in 92 on a big screen.
Absolutely it was.
Whether you were sober or not.
Yeah, it was.
Would have looked a lot more impressive. But at home on a fairly big screen, it became a bit tiresome. And I think the film has dated quite a lot, and not least in its attitudes towards women. Some of the stuff from the Max Schreck, Christopher Walken character, and the Danny DeVito Penguin character towards maybe women in general, but certainly the Catwoman character, I think would be quite frowned upon now. I think, thankfully we've moved on.
Oh, absolutely. But in saying that, Michelle Pfeiffer is the best Catwoman.
Oh, look,
she's amazing in it. She lifts the film. I mean, she's amazing.
She absolutely does. I think hers was far and away the strongest performance. The Penguin, look, Danny DeVito was quite good, but this time I saw more Danny DeVito inside the Penguin rather than the character.
Oh, well, I loved the Penguin because it was such a different Penguin to what I was expecting.
Well, and it's been, as I understand it, it's been leveraged in the, let's say, comic books, graphic novels since then. That the Penguin character until recently when he started to be redefined as a kind of a gangster oddball character.
Yeah.
But for a long time, that whole thing with the misshapen hands, like
That's
penguin
right,
claws
like
and so on,
penguin claws, yeah.
became the character. So this, I think, shifted the ground. But if you're right, Michelle Pfeiffer is the absolute standout of this.
She is.
Bruce Wayne / Batman barely appears in the first third of the film.
Yeah, that's right.
And in fact, I found his character a bit backseat in this film.
Yeah, I agree.
But Michelle Pfeiffer is fantastic as a woman who has gone through quite the personality change after a near-death experience. There's a suggestion of something mystic about the way she's brought back to life by a lot of cats licking her. And I know at the time, and you were probably a bit young at the time, but that whole Michelle Pfeiffer in the stitched together black leather raincoat, Catwoman outfit was probably a lot of men's fantasies for quite a while afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's stunning. And that whole entry she makes, we've seen her a couple of times as Catwoman, but when she first presents to both the Penguin and the Batman by doing the running somersault flip things, and then landing and then going meow, and then the building behind her blows up. Max Shreck's department store.
Oh, it's perfect.
That's a great entrance
Great
for that
entrance.
character.
Oh, perfect.
And a couple of times, I'm sure at one stage she had a contact lens in that made one pupil larger than the other. There's something going on that really suggests this woman who was not quite connected with reality.
Oh, she's brilliant.
And she was meant to be brought back in the third Batman film.
Really?
The sequel to Batman Returns. So there was, I think the first one was just called Batman.
Yes.
With Jack Nicholson as the Joker and Michael Keaton.
Yeah, it's classic.
And then this one didn't do so well at the box office. And Burton tells the story that he went to meet with the studio execs and he worked out pretty quickly and said to them, "You don't want me back for the third film, do you?" And so he walked away from the project. As a result, Michael Keaton walked away from the project, brought in Joel Schumacher. The next Batman, I think, was Val Kilmer. And but the idea was that the third film would be called Batman Continues, and Catwoman would come back and pursue, because she survives and she got to, at the very end sort of climbs off into the city nightscape. The idea was that they would re-encounter, and that would actually be an interesting film to see. It's lost to all time.
Oh, look, I think everybody talks about the Burton ones being the best, and then you've got this is before the Nolan Batmans. This is everyone was saying the Burton ones were the best, and then the Schumacher ones were dreadful.
Did he do the third and fourth?
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Now, I didn't mind the third.
The fourth one was bad.
The fourth one was shocking, but I think the third one gets a bad rap because of the fourth. But the actual third, Batman Forever, doesn't get that bad of reviews. Tommy Lee Jones was quite good as Two-Face. You had
Jim Carrey
was very good as Riddler. So it was,
and you had Robin come to the story.
Yeah, that's right.
Chris O'Donnell. Yeah.
The third Batman Forever, is not a bad film. I think it just gets a bad rap.
I didn't love Val Kilmer in it.
I didn't mind Val Kilmer at that time. He did The Doors. I was really liked that movie, and then he did he did quite a few good roles in that. Top Gun,
Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah.
But have you seen the film that came out earlier this year of The Flash?
No.
Look, for anyone who's remotely a fanboy / fangirl / whatever, I really recommend seeing The Flash. It didn't do that well. I loved it. I'm a DC fanboy from way back. And what they did, particularly at the end, to playfully refer back to past DC superhero films is fantastic. And the way they refer back to both Michael Keaton and George Clooney.
Yeah, right. Wow.
I think you'd really like it.
Okay.
I'd say watch it.
I will watch it.
But, I want to say one more thing before we get to the ratings. In terms of the actors, did you notice Vincent Schiavelli? Do you know him? Actor with a very unusual face. He was a ghost in Ghost, the subway ghost.
Oh, yes. Yes.
He was one of the clown bad
guys.
guys.
Yes, that's right.
But Doug Jones is in it too. You know Doug Jones?
No.
Doug Jones is an actor who specialises as weird creatures. So you would know him as Amphibian Man from The Shape of Water.
Oh, right.
You would know him as the fish creature Abe Sapien from Hellboy. You're not as tricky, I don't think, but in one of the more recent Star Trek TV series, Star Trek Discovery, he plays an alien called Saru, one of the main characters. And he was Fauno, who was the creature with the eyes on his hands in Pan's Labyrinth. Oh,
wow. Yeah, amazing.
Very interesting actor and body movement specialist, I would say. There were two clowns, the thin clown and the fat clown. He was the thin clown.
Oh, wow.
And this is one of his very first screen appearances. So it's really interesting to look back and see pretty much the start of his journey. So what are you giving this?
Look, I found this one a bit difficult because I'm sort of torn because I really loved it. I think what it did for the superhero genre back then was great. But for now, I'm just giving it a 6.5. I don't really usually give a 0.5 rating, but I did want to give it a 6. I thought that was too little, and I think a 7's too high. So I'm going to go 6.5.
I gave it a 7, but, you know,
Okay.
you could persuade me down.
Yeah.
It's a great example, as a lot of Tim Burton films, and you know I love Big Fish.
Oh, yeah,
As
of
we talked about
course.
in the past. You know,
Yeah.
it's wonderful to see such a creative intelligence driving an integrated vision across the whole film.
Yes.
And I love him for that. But, and again, if we were talking about this back in 92 or so, we probably both would rate it higher.
Absolutely
But
rated higher.
things have moved on a bit.
They have. So for our third film, the third film of our Christmas special, we are going to... We're going to discuss...
Would you leave my props alone, please?
We're going to discuss the 2022 film Spirited. Greg, give us some spirit.
I'll do my best. Look, as we've already alluded, last year I bemoaned the lack of movies that bring the Christmas feels.
I agree with that.
On the back of... That's a bit too obvious for
What
it
do you
to unwrap a lag. You have to do a bit better than
I
that.
deserve a wrap. I deserve to unwrap
You deserve a
something
wrap over the knuckles.
I deserve a wrap to unwrap this.
I'm just going back to my script now, okay? And that was on the back of the depressing Mon Oncle Antoine and 2 other films that didn't hit the mark for me. And then, after we recorded over the following week or so, I was fortunate to discover 4 films that did hit the mark. 2011's Lost Christmas with Eddie Izzard, Last Train to Christmas with Michael Sheen and Kerry Ellis, Your Christmas and Mine with Asa Butterfield and a cast of British stalwarts, and Spirited with Will Ferrell, Ryan Reynolds and Octavia Spencer. I recommend all 4 of those films, and the last 3 were all released last Christmas, so 2022 was a good year for Christmas films. However, when I started Apple TV's Spirited musical last year, I wasn't sure that it would be a happy experience. In fact, throughout the opening number, That Christmas Morning Feeling, I was concerned it would prove a mega-budget vanity project. But the movie really kicked off for me in the second number, Bringing Back Christmas, when Ryan Reynolds hit the screen to deliver a rousing number in praise of social media manipulation for commercial ends. It paid tribute to another musical where a huckster revs up a crowd using public morality to achieve his own ends, Robert Preston's You Got Trouble in 1968's The Music Man. Rewatching Spirited a year later, with Ricardo this time, and knowing where the film was going, this time I was on board from the outset. The film reworks Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, except now the afterlife is a cheery department of the deceased, all singing and tap dancing at the drop of a song cue. Led by Jacob Marley, Patrick Page, their mission is to engineer a Scrooge-like redemption of a mean-spirited individual every Christmas, following Dickens' template, to take this person through high-tech recreations of their past and present Christmases, and then to show them their future Christmas grave to achieve spiritual conversion. But the ghost of Christmas Present, shortened to Present, and played by Will Ferrell, is losing faith in their mission, driven by a need to have a much greater impact by converting someone that will affect much bigger change to ripple out across the world. While scoping out their next candidate, Present stumbles across media manipulation consultant Clint Briggs, Ryan Reynolds, and on the back of the rabble-rousing Bringing Back Christmas number, Present sees the potential of converting someone as devious and influential as Clint. But he has to persuade Marley that this would be a worthwhile mission, as Clint's eternal file has been marked unredeemable. Marley's team prepares all year for the big conversion, but it doesn't take long for the program to go off-piste, as Clint employs his cynicism and manipulative charm to avoid confronting his past, present and future deeds. Along the way, Present finds himself falling for Clint's assistant, Kimberly, Octavia Spencer, who is having moral qualms about what she does in service to Clint's business. Look, if you don't like musicals, there's a good chance you won't like Spirited. You have to give yourself over to its musical exuberance, to its overbrimming joy, fun, and large-scale choreography. It also references other Christmas films such as Elf and Scrooged, which we reviewed way back in our first and second Christmas episodes. An absolute highlight is a musical number set in Victorian London, celebrating the snarkiness of insulting people. Spirited frolics in the world of Oliver, another Dickensian musical, with a perfect blink and you'll miss it celebrity cameo. In the midst of all the fun, this sequence also provides Clint's pivot point as he truly engages with present. And this is emblematic of the film's ability to move fluidly between comedy, romance and genuine emotion, not least through hospital scenes from Clint's past. Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell are an inspired pairing, and Octavia Spencer is a revelation as she sings. The songs are written by Benj Pasek and Justin Paul, the pair behind such musical hits as La La Land, Dear Evan Hansen, and The Greatest Showman, which I know is a favourite of yours, Ricardo. So, where does this film sit for you in the Christmas pantheon?
I'm not a huge musical fan.
I know.
You know that. Yes, and I did love The Greatest Showman. I didn't know when I was watching it that the songs were written by the same writers. I wasn't loving it, and I didn't love it when I watched it with you. I was there were some
All the way
funny
through.
moments. No, not all the way through, but there were some good moments. I've rewatched it since,
Yeah.
and it's much better on a second viewing.
So your experience is pretty
It's
close to
very
mine.
similar.
Open a layer.
Yeah, yeah. There we go. That's worth
Woohoo!
it. That's worth it. Hang on, I'm going to open a layer. While I open the layer, I'll keep talking.
Please do.
I like the music a lot more the second time round.
Well, you were humming that Christmas morning feeling. Not
When
humming, you were
I
singing
came,
when you
I
got
came
here tonight.
Yeah, that's right. I think I'll find that I enjoy it even on the third time.
I've just started my third time.
Right? And and the more... Because I wasn't really loving Will Ferrell in it. I think I love Will Ferrell in a lot of movies, but he was actually very sort of understated and really wasn't...
And a bit tired.
Yeah, very tired. Yeah, he looked tired.
And you can't help comparing him to the Will Ferrell of Elf.
No, that's
Yeah.
right. You've got to have a balance between when you've got two pairings there. You've got to have someone who's really out there and somebody who's a bit different. Now, I found that the energies just weren't matching in this film.
Well, at times, like that Victorian England song, Good Afternoon,
Yes.
I thought they really did match.
Okay. I don't think they do.
Okay.
I don't think they do. I think they're a weird pairing, Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell on this.
I thought they worked.
So... More the second time around, like I said, but I think it's a much more enjoyable film the second time around.
And why do you think that is?
I think it's knowing where the story's going. It's a little bit disjointed, and it's a Christmas Carol, but it's not a Christmas Carol. And you've got all these different aspects to it. When you're trying to sort of piece it together, going, well, what is this trying to say, and what's it trying to do? With a Christmas Carol, it's very simple. Whereas this was a bit of both in both ways. I mean, you got Will Ferrell is finding stuff about himself, but also Ryan Reynolds is finding things about himself. I don't mind it. It just takes a bit of getting used to, and sort of when you're trying to piece it together. Because originally I thought, this is just a musical version of Scrooge, or a Christmas Carol, but it's not. It's a little bit to it.
Yeah,
a little bit more to it.
Like Scrooge, which is 1980, whatever it was, the Bill Murray one.
Yeah.
What I like about it is it doesn't just try to do some sort of translation of it, which we've seen a few times now. It can get boring.
A lot.
They actually get very playful with it. And I think this film is directly inspired by Scrooge. I think it's really obvious.
Yeah.
Even to the point where they take him back to the family suburban Christmas and his parent is horrible to him, to the child. You know, there's a lot of echoes there.
But this is why I think it's better the second time around for me.
Yeah.
Because I knew what the story was doing, and I could just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then I was really...
And the songs are very good.
The songs are good, and the choreography is very good. I noticed the choreography more the second time round.
And on the ice skating rink?
Yes, very good. Very good. Very good. But even that opening song, great.
Yeah, but when I saw it the first time and I was watching that number, it was so full on and over the top.
Full on,
that I just thought, if it's all going to be like this, like a big budget Scrooge story, this feels like someone's really, like I say, vanity project.
Well, the first time I saw
it gets deeper.
The songs just felt loud, and that sort of musical chorus loud.
Well, but that's the point. It's deliberately exuberant.
Yes.
It's completely full on.
But I loved Octavia Spencer's song.
Yes.
I think
The
that's
View from Here.
Yeah, that's a lovely song.
Which they return to 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, look, that's a really nice song.
And when she and Present, Will Ferrell's character, are walking down by the Manhattan River, on the winter's evening, and they're walking along and they start reprising her song now as a couple duet, but the people around them just started humming and doing little kind of movements, and I really felt it at that stage, really like a warmth.
Yeah. So look, I felt Ryan Reynolds' character a lot more in the second time round than I did the first time round. I felt his journey a little bit more. I'm not going to say what happens, but that gave me a couple of feels, which I didn't get the first time.
And the third time around, accidentally at first, we were watching with the subtitles on, and there was more I was picking up. We've watched about a quarter of it so far. And there was more I was picking up from some of the little aside dialogues that people were making, particularly in that big opening number where the recently dead come in and they're trying to work out what's going on. Little comments they're making that I just totally missed because there's so much going on, and maybe I'm getting old with my years and so on. But I think the third watching will be really good in terms of just getting a bit more of the texture and the Easter eggs. But I think this has the potential to become a Christmas movie, maybe not quite in the same way and degree as something like Love Actually has become, but I think it has potential.
I don't think it's going to become that, but it's a very good Christmas film. It is actually really good. It does bring the Christmas feels. It's beautifully made. It is really well made. It's so colourful, great production design, and so many different sets and whatnot. When it gets to England and whatnot, it's
swiftly moving sets as well.
Very, very well made. And Will Ferrell, I've still got a warm to him in it.
I do have one problem with this story, and that is that the whole Charles Dickens Scrooge thing, both in the novel and in the universe of this film, starts off converting an Englishman. But now things have moved on and they're only focusing on the Americas. So there's a little sequence at the start where Rose Byrne makes a cameo as the woman who's been converted in suburban America somewhere. Then you've got Ryan Reynolds' character in New York. They were going to do this guy in Canada, but they do Ryan Reynolds instead. And then at the very end of the film, you see they're going to go back to Canada. And it's this Hollywood preoccupation for America. And I know that's their audience.
It is.
But why couldn't have the Rose Byrne story, which is a little bit at the start, why couldn't that have been England or Paris or Kenya or Melbourne, where we are, whatever. Yeah. It's just that, it's all just America. And that if they're trying to change the world, unless they're making a comment on the fact that there are a lot more mean-spirited people in America, perhaps, who need redemption, I don't know. But I would have liked just that little bit more universalism to it. And I'm carping, but I just thought,
No, I agree with you.
Take a layer off.
I'm going to take a layer off.
No, the parcel, Ricardo, not your clothes.
Yes. Here we go.
This is riveting audio, isn't it?
While I do this riveting, yes, dead air with just bag sounds.
It's actually sticky tape, not rivets.
Everybody finds the last ghost, the death,
Christmas future.
Christmas
yet to come.
Christmas yet to come. Very scary. I love the way they changed that around in this. So that was very well done. Just watch it to find out. I love the way they did that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And there's a great sense of camaraderie between the three ghosts and Marley as well.
Oh, very funny. And the one who plays Christmas Past,
the woman.
She's great. What's her name? She was very, very good.
Sunita Mani.
Yeah, very good.
Yes.
Yeah, I found her dry. She was very dry. This dry sense
I
of
don't
humor.
know if I've seen her in anything else, actually. So, what will you give this?
I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. Yeah.
I fluctuated between an 8 and a 9.
Oh, my goodness.
I know, and because based on my second viewing...
That's up with near It's a Wonderful Life territory, Greg.
No, Wonderful Life's 10.
10,
that's
that's very different, yeah.
And then I was thinking, well... I think I'm particularly responding as a 9 on the back of last year's films.
Yes, okay.
So I'm going to take it down to an 8.
Oh, there we go. So we're not far.
No, I still really enjoyed it. Yeah. Not good enough for the last layer. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not gonna get to open this present.
No, that's the end of the 3 films.
That's
I'm
amazing.
sorry.
I know. It's really hard.
Maybe next year.
No, what can I say? What can I say? I can say.
Thank you for your deep insights, Greg.
Amazing insight into the world
go
of
on. Just so we don't keep our audience.
Well, it's
suspense.
Christmas. Come on, I've got to open this last layer. Okay, I'm going to talk because this is not
Yep.
great audio, right? Not great radio.
Well, some people are into that AMSR
Not
thing,
great
whatever it is.
Okay, what is this? Oh my God, there's a door or a little patch door.
Yeah,
that
open
I've
it that
got.
way.
Okay, let's have a look. Ah, fuck. Jesus. Oh my God.
And that's a Christmas
Oh
prank.
my God. Oh, you bugger. That's... I'm sorry.
You better tell me what's actually
That
happened.
actually is... looks very real. I opened a
We'll put a
door
photo of this
thinking-
on. We'll put a photo of this on our social media.
thinking that this is...
It's a cute little wooden balsa wood box with a sliding top, and when you open it,
A spider jumps out at you.
right where your hand is.
Right where you... Oh my goodness, you bugger.
Well, this is called a Christmas prank.
That is... And the spider looks real.
I know.
It looks so real.
Some jolly Christmas japery.
Oh my...
But just
That literally...
I know.
That you got me.
That worked so well.
You got me. You
But-
got me.
Just to show that I'm not complete Scrooge.
All that.
Here's the real gift.
Oh really?
Yes.
Oh, what's this one?
It's a cockroach.
No, that was you.
You get to keep that, by
I
the
get
way.
to. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm
Like
gonna use that.
your son's going to have fun
he's
with that.
gonna love it. That is. Now what's this? Don't you trick me again? Now that's okay. That's really. That was scary. That literally. This is not Halloween. It's not a Halloween
it's not the
episode.
same thing.
No. What's this? This is a a National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation station wagon from the Griswold family tree.
It's a Christmas
This
decoration.
is a Christmas decoration of the. Oh wow!
Well, I know from last year how much you really enjoyed that film, more than I did.
Oh, I enjoy all the National Lampoon's
I know.
vacation films. Oh, that is wonderful. This is. We'll put this on social media as well. This is the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation car with a Christmas tree on it.
Which is kind of referenced in There's Something in the Barn. Didn't they go out looking for a Christmas tree as well?
Yeah, they did. Yes, that's right. So, this is great. With sound too.
Oh,
Hang
didn't know
on, so
that.
hang on, I'll just do this.
Come, let us adore Him, Christ the Lord.
Is it the only sound?
That's
Or are there
I
more?
don't know. Let's have a
Try
look.
again.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Done we now our bid.
What's the name of the uncle in this film?
I forget.
Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. Take it, Russ.
Well, that's great. Oh, okay. I'm going to turn this off now. Oh, that's it. Yes. Okay. Well, I will hang this on the tree.
Merry Christmas, Ricardo.
Thank
It
you.
deserves a
Merry
hug.
Christmas. And quite honestly, Merry Christmas to our listeners.
Who? Oh, yeah, them.
Them.
Yes.
So, Merry Christmas to everybody. Please have a safe and happy Christmas and a wonderful new year.
And we really hope that Christmas feels sensation we're looking for from the films, we hope you find that. It might be in one of these films, another film. It might be just in that traditional gathering of friends and family at what is a really special time of year, and, embrace it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just have a wonderful, wonderful time and be safe.